Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. And today I am live streaming from the 11 Storm server, one of my Patreon servers. We are doing a build contest. Each of our build contests that has a parade route that was constructed in an outpost by one or more of the players on the server. In this case, the host with the most is going to be Gritmonger in his outpost, Chindogu Gambiara. And we are going to be celebrating on the server here International Workers' Day. Now, all of our builders know that they are going to have an hour starting on the hour to build. So I am going to get my timer ready here. And we'll talk a little bit about what's going on once they start building. But usually, the first few minutes of the build contest, there's not too much for us to observe yet anyway. So that is going to be fine. So we are going to set this timer here for 1 hour and 0 minutes. And okay, so we have not tons, but we have about a dozen people on the server right now that are going to be competing. This world was started at the same time that Hermitcraft 11 launched, and is going to be on a recycle cycle or a restart cycle that matches Hermitcraft's cadence, which means since we don't know when Hermitcraft 11 is going to end, we know that this server isn't going to end anytime soon either. This server won't end until the Hermits get done with Decked Out, so that might be a while. Okay. We are using the Voxy mod to render the chunks in the long distance here and cache them as we go. I haven't pre-cached a lot of these chunks, so everything we are flying around is basically being loaded in fresh. These are not from like 3 months ago. So that's the advantage of that. Okay. So, welcome, everybody in the Twitch chat. Fluffy Dragon Royalty, Abby M, RJ Crafts, Danish Norwegian, Gray was here. In the YouTube chat, let me see who we've got. If you're in the YouTube chat, say howdy. We're going to pop that out so I can read it easier, because right now it's kind of in an awkward position. So, welcome, Maria Salas there. And presumably anybody else who's going to show up. We are coming up on the hour very soon, and then we are going to formally start the contest. Once again, everybody will have 1 hour exactly, starting now! Go, 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 build, build, build. We are going to teleport to Gritmonger, our host, who built this outpost, and ask, Grit, do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of what your outpost is and what International Workers' Day means to you?
Okay, well, first off, there are some welcome packets for folks if they want to come where I am right now. You can pick up a bag, help you start building. Chindogu Gambiara is based on a lot of principles of innovation from the ground up. A lot of people think innovation comes from big corporations, large areas, massive corporate investment, when innovation actually comes from the ground up in places where people have necessity or people have time, and then eventually gets co-opted by large corporations and the like. So what I think Chindogu Gambiara means to me is that spirit of innovation that comes from places like Brazil and the favelas, where they make everything that they need. Other places where there is not land available, but people need housing, and they construct it for themselves. And rather than constructing bog standard, cookie cutter, manufactured elements, they personalize everything. So everything from the windows to the doors to the colors, they pick, they decide, they gather together, and they help each other to do things like run electricity, run sewage, all the standard problems that large cities have, but they do it, from an individual level and working up from there. So this is essentially a monument to human innovation driven kind of by necessity due to corporate greed. And
I
what
love how
International
colorful
Workers'
it
Day...
is.
Yeah,
sorry.
it.
Before we move on to International Workers' Day, because I gave you a two-part question, but I realized I just wanted to take a second and say, like, there's so many fun, complementary, and disparate colors in here. It really just pulls the whole thing. When you kind of go overboard with this stuff, all of a sudden it fits again. It's not out of place to have cyan next to this, next to that, because it's just all here.
Exactly. And that's the point of this whole area, is that anybody who needs a base or wants a base can base here if they feel like it. And as we started building out the entire favela, one of the ideas was, hey, this would be a great place for hide and seek.
Ooh. Real quick, can you lead me over to... We're going to actually change world spawn to the hub for this area. One of the things that we're doing is every time a parade is hosted by an outpost, we move the server's world spawn. So we don't have one world spawn. Everybody gets to take a turn hosting. So are you standing where it is now?
I am, yes.
Okay, so I am going to /set world spawn. And that should work now. Hopefully. Yay. So that way, if anybody needs to fast travel here, just shove everything in an ender chest, and you can be here quickly.
Or
Yay.
you can go through the end and go through in a boat, and you should appear here.
Oh, that's true. You can use a... Yeah.
Entities, yes. As long as you're traveling on an entity, you will appear here. And
or if you throw an ender pearl through the portal, you'll come back.
Exactly.
You'll come here. Oh.
Bingo. So we also have a welcome manual that I wrote for folks getting started. It's partially complete, and then we're going to have different stations around here. But the idea is for ease of use, we have a bunch of arrows that lead people around to the various stations where they can pick up stuff. And the fourth one over here, where we've got some of the graffiti, is where it's going to be a free-for-all, and anybody can come in and donate whatever they feel like.
Oh, nice.
So it's meant to be kind of community-based. So we've got the basic welcome kit and Head Start kits that are going to be here. And then this is going to be additional things that you might need for like crops or other like base building stuff. And then this is going to be for exploration if they want to pick up just one diamond sword and not like a whole diamond set of gear. And then, of course, this is the place where people can just pick up whatever others have left behind for them. And then you can immediately just jump into the end portal if you want to go somewhere, or we've got the nether portal over here. So it's meant to be self-guided.
Yeah. Now, I believe you're the one who usually would build the world spawn welcome huts in the previous year servers, right?
It was something I started doing just because we had some folks come on and they didn't understand the social graces that we all kind of adhere to. And so to help with that, I made the first welcome manual, and then we started throwing together the kits because some folks came on and didn't, started digging up right at spawn. And we were like, oh, instead of saying, hey, don't dig at spawn, instead giving them something else to get them started, what seemed to be a better solution. So, and it just kind of grew from there. It was not something I said, I'm going to do this. It was something that was needed. And I just kind of like ground up like Chindogu, you do.
Well, and that's one of the things that gave me a kind of an incentive to start rotating the spawn this season. This is the first season where we had a rotating spawn, and part of it was that I didn't want people who joined the server too late to feel like when they logged in, they're already in the middle of everything, because all of these outposts have a certain amount of distance from each other. Somebody who spawns here as a first-time player this month can wander off into the wilderness from your base and end up somewhere different than somebody who joins next month and spawns in at a different outpost. And so we're kind of cycling the access to the wilderness and the ability for people to like find a place to call their own. But also we're giving everybody on the server an opportunity who, well, at least all the people who build outposts, the opportunity to build their own welcome hut and welcome center and to see how different approaches to that work so that, people can iterate and refine. Because, like, I love that you did that, but, like, I could also imagine some people being like, man, I wish I had thought of that, but we don't really need 2 welcome huts on a server. That looks like it's petty, or, you know what I mean? That's weird. Like, welcome to the welcomer hut. It's even betterer than the Gritmonger one.
Yeah,
this is the Gritmongest hut.
Having competing welcome centers smacks too much of capitalism.
Yeah, it's kind of like on the border of 2 states. You've got the Welcome Center for Tennessee and the Welcome Center for Alabama. And they're like, we've got rockets. And we're like, we've got whiskey, And, it's just one of those things. But so this way, we kind of built it into the cadence of the server that there's going to be this natural rotation over time. And, basically because these... those little welcome spawn areas are between 2 outposts. We'll come back to it at some point later in the season. Although you had a ghost town opposite you, didn't you?
Yes, I do.
So I guess yours is only going to be a one-time.
Not very welcoming.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually a pretty cool ghost town, all things considered. All those carpet blocks there.
Oh yeah, that's Kendall's idea.
That's the ghostiest town. It's cyberpunk and it's amazing. But yeah, right now I am just kind of flying around, getting some extra chunks loaded for the long-distance renderer. And we'll go check on the parade floats in a few minutes. Everybody who's competing you've still got like 52.5 minutes. We got plenty of time. Um, so yeah, so Gritmonger,
International Workers' Day.
yeah, International Workers' Day. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, for those of you who don't know, everybody who builds an outpost gets to compete for their ranked choice of what month they want to host a parade. So, whoever built the best outpost gets first choice because we might have like 5 different places that want to do Halloween, right? But we can only do one Halloween parade. So, only one outpost gets to pick October. So, Gritmonger, you specifically chose May because you wanted to host an International Workers' Day parade, correct?
Correct. Last year, last time we did a competition, it was the company town one, and we did Labor Day, which is the U.S.'s kind of answer to May Day because May Day seems a little communist to the U.S. And they're like, well, no, we're going to put ours in September because, it was the 1950s, et cetera, 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we got to do something different. But interestingly enough, International Workers' Day kind of got its start with laborers in Chicago fighting for an 8-hour workday.
Which I love an 8
And
hour workday. I don't really have one myself since I'm working 2 jobs right now.
in principle, yeah.
But in principle, if it weren't for the 8 hour workday, I wouldn't get to leave one of my jobs and then go do my other one.
Oh yeah. So
screaming externally.
I
haven't really thought about this much until now, and this is why we do this as our annual introspection moment.
It's our relation to labor and where it ends up going. Because thankfully, you actually own a lot of the means of your own production when it comes to this site, for example.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't own Minecraft, which is why my YouTube channel has a huge disclaimer at the top that says this is not an official Microsoft software event video or whatever. And I will say, somebody from Mojang told me once, it's like, Joe, I saw that at the top of your channel. We only require people put that in there, so if we don't like them, we can get their channels shut down. And I'm like, how can I count on you liking me next year or your replacement? Like, you understand that is not... I am not an eminently likable person if you do the sort of things that Microsoft occasionally does. Like, I'm not gonna count on that. I'm putting that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That disclaimer is going right there at the top in all caps.
People like a gadfly until it turns their way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, sorry, I'm talking. International Workers' Day. Let's talk about. You're saying Chicago 8 hour day. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of it ends up being when people think about communism, they say, "Oh, communism bad," but fundamentally it means workers owning the means of production. It doesn't outlaw private property. It doesn't stop a lot of standard things that people think about commerce. It more says, hey, if you do labor, you should own means of performing that labor. You should have some stake in doing that. So when we see like worker-owned companies, that's kind of where we're going with this. The idea that a group of people can get together and decide to do something productive, something meaningful, and they can make their work that way. So not all work has to be soulless, not all work has to be drudgery, and not all work has to be unethical. And those ideas are generally what corporations end up fighting against because they want to have things like private prisons. And God bless it, we could do a lot better than just having private prisons. I mean, privately owned prisons that have investors is a terrible incentive. And when people own the production, it also incentivizes better behavior and better treatment of fellow workers because, hey, that's me, you're me. We are all in this together. So International Workers' Day,
at a certain point, I feel like I'm not... I feel like I know what you're trying to argue is that certain things should be owned collectively by the state, like prisons. And you're not trying to argue that a co-op of guards should own the prison. But, like, just so you know, like, because of the way you led into this, it kind of sounds like, obviously, if the guards owned the means of incarceration,
Instead, there were means other than incarceration. Well, this is just it. If the prisoners owned the means of incarceration, more like, they're the ones doing the labor. Exploitative labor by prisons is one of those horrible things that's like, well, if prisoners actually got together and say, hey, we're not going to be used for free labor and be exploited for $1 an hour wages by large corporations, that is a means of fighting for that. So, as an example, a lot of folks are trained as fire jumpers or smoke jumpers who are in the prisons. They're trained to work in in the fire line, but they're forbidden from becoming firefighters when they leave.
Well, and that's the thing is it's bonkers to me that California says we're going to use all these prisoners for fire breaks and firefighting, but that they have a law that
Hmm.
says, hey, if you are a felon, you can never be a firefighter. And it's like, I understand why you
Right.
want trusted people to become firefighters because they're going into people's homes and whatnot.
Right.
But like,
Right.
at the same time, if somebody got arrested for, let's say, like insurance fraud, well, I guess sometimes insurance fraud does
Mhm.
involve setting things on fire. That's a bad example. But like sometimes
Keep
people go
going.
to jail for things that are not things that should preclude them from being a firefighter. I feel like you should be
Yeah.
allowed to evaluate that case by case. And especially, hey, this guy served 15 years and 12 of those summers he was out fighting fires. You know, like there might be a fire crew that he worked with a few years in a row. They know him. They'd be happy to hire him, but they're not allowed to. What the heck is that? Like,
Right.
it just
Yeah.
I feel like we need to be thoughtful about how the types of second chances we give people, and we need to be careful we're not
Yeah.
we need to be making sure we're helping rather than hurting, you know. But
Right.
like
Because
this
I
stuff
mean,
needs to be case by case, not blanket.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it's hilarious to me that our answer to antisocial behavior is to anti-socialize someone further. Isolate them, put them in a population of other antisocial people, not try and rehabilitate them at all, not give them a chance at education, try and take away every amenity and continue to punish them further beyond what is humane. And then expect them to what? Come out of their whole people? Honestly, we could do a much better example of how to rehabilitate folks. And some people say, "Well, it's pie in the sky," blah, 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 blah.
Well,
But if we
everything's
had,
pie
say,
in the sky
universal
until
health
you
care,
do it. Like, I mean,
exactly.
look at satellites. Like,
Mhm.
200 years ago. Oh yeah, we're gonna put something in the sky that bounces radio signals, and they'd be like, "What signals?" Like, like
Yeah,
we come up with new stuff all the time. We're solving problems all the time. But like, God forbid
exactly.
those things help somebody at a societal
Right,
level in that way. Like, we're only allowed
right,
to invent things we can sell. Like,
right. And this is where like healthcare comes in. I mentioned before, I've actually lost an entire family to lack of healthcare because
mm,
unfortunately the person was sold on this idea of rugged individualism, and it led to their son overdosing, their wife succumbing to medical conditions that they couldn't get to the doctor in time for, and him eventually dying from a treatable infection over 3 years.
jeez.
Which, you're right, this is a horror show if people could see it up close. But the problem is he also was invested in this rugged individualism, so he didn't see anything until it was an emergency, and only emergency care being available, not for free, but
Yeah.
declarable as a loss for a hospital and mandated, means that they're going to upcharge that the most,
Mm-hmm.
and people only get seen to be stabilized and not to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it's in the worst interests of people supposedly wanting to help the workers to not have universal health care. Because if we had universal health care, people get treated early, they get treated sooner, they're
Mm-hmm.
more able to work, they're able to labor, longer hours. But when you have like one of my friends, she's still alive, thankfully, but she's come close a couple of times with medical needs. She's already unable to work at 38
Mm-hmm.
because she didn't have any health care. She also has no support system because she works independently doing cleaning.
Well, and
And
that's the thing is
people
being a
that, they,
self-employed person. Like I had to
yeah,
start moonlighting at a local, like at a job where it doesn't pay great, but they help the local community and they have good health
hmm,
insurance. Because if I was like, I make enough money off YouTube that I don't really get to benefit from any of the subsidies on health insurance as a self-employed person. And
right,
as a self-employed
yeah,
person with a family that's the right age to have children, they're gonna charge you $1,900 a month for like
that's
so
criminal.
yeah, so like the most entry level care or the most entry level health insurance I qualified for was 1,300, but I looked at it and it didn't cover anything. It just made it like legally you could say you had insurance, but it was just like terrible non-cover. You know what I mean? They're just like well, yeah. And so it's like if you want real insurance, but not great insurance,
Oh
it's
my
nineteen
God.
hundred dollars a month. You know, So
Yeah.
I was looking at it
Oh,
and I started moonlighting because I was like, I can't spend 23 grand a year on health insurance. I make good money on YouTube, but not that good. And
yeah.
like the
Not
other options are, oh, I guess I could sell ads for gambling apps or AI. Like, and I don't want to do that, you know.
no.
So yeah, no, I went and got a job. So when we talk about International Workers Day, this is not just me being like, hey, we're gonna talk about workers. Also, I play video games in my garage all day. I do play a lot of video games in my garage, but I also work 8 hours a
Well,
day. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I work somewhere that helps people all over Middle Tennessee, and it's not a good paying job, but it's the sort of thing where because I'm helping people in my community, like, man, if I was richer and it was a nonprofit, I would volunteer there. I love the work. I love the people
right.
I'm with. And it also frees me up because I was going nuts with my YouTube channel. Like during COVID, I felt like I was helping people in a very
Yeah.
concrete way. And then after COVID, I'm just kind of like, I don't know that I'm still helping people, or I'm definitely not still helping people in the same way. And if not, am I helping people enough? I feel like maybe I'm not living up to my potential to make the world better. What does that look like? How do I do that? It's like now I go to work for 8 hours a day and I help a bunch of people, like hundreds of people every
Yeah.
day. And I know that it's like making a direct life changing impact. And I can be like, I can come home and be like, I'm going to play video games and build a big skeleton. And I don't care if it's helpful. Like, I'm just doing it. Like, so, and I'm not just trying to make this all about me, but I want to talk about like there is a value to labor and having the
Right.
ability to work linked to your self-worth and how you view yourself and your identity. And when people are deprived of the ability to work because they aren't given the opportunity to have fair access to healthcare, then that
Hmm.
like it undermines their own self-respect and their ability to feel like they're part of a society that they love. Like a lot of people who have
Right.
like I had a really bad medical condition where I was on bed rest for 3 months before they figured out what was wrong with me back in college. And
Hmm.
I was worried like I might never be able to work again. I might never be able to contribute to society. I'm just going to be dead weight. My grandfather had Alzheimer's and he lived with us when he was like really old, and I'm going to be like that at 19. And for decades. And what am I going to do? And like it was terrifying to me. And I was fortunate
Yeah.
that they were able to figure out after months what was actually wrong with me and get me on a good treatment plan and stuff. But like, not everybody's that lucky. And I'm talking about
Right.
I'm lucky it was only 3 months I was on bed rest, because if I hadn't
Yes.
had access to an incredibly good program at Vanderbilt, which is like one of the leading medical centers in Tennessee, like they could have kept misdiagnosing me and kept giving me the wrong medication and making me worse. And where would I be today? I don't know. And
Yeah.
but like that's the thing though, is a lot of times with this stuff, if you don't stick with it, you don't get the results that actually get your life back on track. And so
Exactly.
like making sure that people don't have to be afraid to go to the doctor, making sure that people feel secure enough to take time off work, even if they have health insurance. Some people might not feel, well, oh, I can't take time off. The boss will be pissed.
Exactly.
Like when we talk about
Right.
workers' rights, there's a lot of incremental opportunities for improvement before we jump straight to all businesses one day being worker owned or whatever. Because like that would be
Right.
cool. But like realistically, I would be thrilled if we just made it easier for people to take time off work to go to the doctor, and that when they got to
Exactly.
the doctor, it wasn't insanely expensive. Like
Well, well, right. But this is one of the things where it comes up, universal healthcare,
hmm
universal basic income. They've done
hmm
studies where they administered, some universal basic income to select populations.
yeah,
And unlike what people think is going to happen, or it's just going to be lazy and they're going to sit around, they're not going to do anything. No, people still wanted to work. People still wanted to labor. All
hmm
universal basic income did was establish a floor so
yeah,
that people didn't have this idea of, well, I have to make this work or else I'm going to fail and then my family's going to starve. That was no longer a concern. And when you free people up from that, you get the kind of innovation that is in Shindogu Gambira, but
hmm
without the poverty. Imagine that.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
because
that's
it's out
yeah,
of desire instead of just raw necessity.
and it's just one of those things where like we really can do better if we give more people opportunities to be self-sufficient in a... Now, I know it sounds like, well, wait, if you're just giving everybody universal income, that's not really self-sufficiency. Well, okay, it may be self-determination. If people aren't dependent on
Yes.
their parents as soon as they graduate from high school, well, my parents want me to just go to school and study this, and if I say no, they're going to cut me off, and I don't know how to work because they
Hmm.
never let me work, and now I'm, what now? So I guess I'm going to go study to be a doctor because that's what they want. And then you get, like, people who
Yeah.
are drinking themselves to death because they're on a path that they never wanted to be on, just because they never felt like they had the freedom to pursue their own interests,
Exactly.
like to go back to the job I have now, it's the sort of job that I would have told my dad, like, Dad, I want to do this when I grow up. And he'd go, no, 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 you can't do that. That's a waste of your talents. It's beneath you. You
Oh
you
God.
could make so much more money doing something better. I'm not working this hard for you to work doing something like that. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
at the same time, like, now that I'm doing it, like, I can only afford to do it because YouTube is subsidizing. It's like, but like, there's a lot of jobs where it's like, well, if you're helping people in the community, you should do it because you feel good and not because you want the money. And it's like, well, yeah, but those people still have to live. Those people
Yeah.
can't just
It's
not eat. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
This
so
is one of the things where a lot of those kind of jobs end up being things that the government should be helping with,
yeah,
but doesn't, and leaves it to quote unquote either the free market or charity.
yeah.
And as many people have said, if charity was going to work, it would have already worked.
Well, I mean, I will say charity does accomplish things. I don't think
It
charity is
does,
the be
but
all end all. I think it's a great
exactly,
stopgap. And I think it's a great way
but
for
it's just
people to
that.
put their money where their mouth is on stuff that's unproven. Because, like, for example,
Right.
the technologists in hospitals that Child's Play created grants for. I don't know how familiar you are with Child's Play, but they've worked
Somewhat.
with Gamers Outreach in the past. They're the ones that lent Gamers Outreach the robot.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So it's another Seattle. It's a Seattle-based charity created by the guys who make Penny Arcade and the PAX conventions. And
Right,
what
right.
they do is they raise money to create 3-year grants that cover the salary of gaming technologists in hospitals, in children's hospitals. So this is a staff member whose job it is to basically administer all the Xbox accounts and set up all the TVs and connect all that stuff, right? Because they
Right.
initially started a charity where they just donated gaming equipment to hospitals, but the hospitals didn't have anybody to use it, right?
Exactly.
Or to
Yeah.
set it up. So they said, well, you guys should probably hire somebody in your IT department who could specialize in this. And the hospitals are like, we have no idea if that would even work. So Child's Play said, fine, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a grant program where we create this job for 3 years. And then if you like it, you can say, okay, it's worth keeping this guy on, right? And
Right.
so they ended up doing a bunch of studies of the results of these 3-year grants. And almost every hospital ended up saying, oh, wow, this is actually a huge benefit, disproportionate to the amount of money it costs. The amount
Exactly.
that this helps families de-stress, and like all of the advantages of the go-karts and things that we talked about with the Gamers Outreach stuff, are partially made possible. Gamers Outreach works very closely with Child's Play for administering these carts in a lot of these hospitals.
Right. You need the
And
infrastructure.
and so, like, that's a case where, in the long term, you don't necessarily want charity paying all of these salaries in every hospital all over the world. But charity being a way to generate grants for the proof of concept, being a way for people to put their money where their mouth is, where they're like, hey, I think this could help you, and I'm willing to give you this money. Because, like, I could see the government being like, well, we can't justify giving government money for this completely untested thing in a bunch of hospitals, right? Like, we have to
Yeah.
be responsible stewards of the taxpayers' money. So I think even in a world where we had a much better government, there would still be people with discretionary spending who would be
Sure.
donating money to charities. I think there's no
Right.
world where charity stops existing.
Of course, and that's not what I'm arguing for.
Oh, sorry,
The
sorry,
the
yeah.
thing that I'm that's okay, but the thing that I'm looking at is the friend who died, as an
Yeah,
example.
sorry.
He and his relatives eventually did reach out to charitable organizations to try and help cover, because he didn't have a steady salary and didn't have a retirement. He was a
Mhm.
former fire jumper himself. He was not a criminal. He was just with the Forest Service, and he did smoke jumping for a long
Mhm.
time. But then he was underemployed, and then finally just doing kind of the work he knew, which was working with trees and this stuff, but he didn't value himself that much. And
Hmm.
so he didn't charge the rates he needed to charge. All of that leading up to when he finally approached these charitable organizations, they helped him for about 3 months and then they kicked him off their program.
Because they're like, with your skills, you should
And
be making more money, like that sort of thing.
well, they were also, well, we can't afford to support you long term. We're meant to be a stopgap for people that have like a month where they don't have income or something like that.
Hmm.
And these were church based, and they were just like, sorry, can't help you. So the other thing is charities very often, especially when they're very local, the kind of services they try and provide really should be like emergency, and then the government should take over these kind of things.
Well,
So
and that's
charities
true of a lot
providing
of disaster
stopgaps for
relief
services that
too.
don't exist.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
and
feel like
this
local churches and local nonprofits can help while a disaster is
oh
happening
yeah,
before FEMA gets there because they're already there, right? Like they
exactly.
already have a food bank, they already have a gymnasium where refugees can stay, or people who are kicked out of their homes by a flood or something. Like they've got facilities, they've got staff. There's a world, or there's always going to be a value to the local
Yes,
contributions like that.
right,
But
exactly.
it
But
has
the
to
thing
be a
is, they're not
bridge.
set up to help people long term. Yes, it's a
If
bridge,
the state
precisely.
isn't ready to pick up the other side of that, like, a church gymnasium is not a long-term
No,
solution
you
for
cannot
100
shelter
families.
people for a few years. It's
No,
just
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
work.
like, because that's the thing is like, okay, people talk about how bad the FEMA trailers are, but like that, and they should have been a lot better.
They also
I
are a bridge, but yeah,
But
but
yeah,
they're a
yeah,
bridge.
it's like, okay, we that was a very poorly executed attempt, but at least an attempt was
Mhm.
made. Like
Exactly.
we need to be
Versus just
iterating on
letting
these
people do
attempts.
it.
We need to be improving. But yeah, it's like, okay, so we go, first you're sleeping in a stadium or a gymnasium or whatever, and then we get you in a trailer. The trailer's not going to be great, but we
No,
are going to have
but
to. It's going to
it's
take time to rebuild all these homes. It's going to take time to move
exactly.
people elsewhere. And so
It's
just
better than a cot in a gymnasium.
an element of defense in depth where we need to be helping people at a local level and at a community level, like within our own organization, coworkers helping out other coworkers. Oh, your car broke down, let me give you a ride. Little things like
Right.
that can add up, right? And okay, well then there's a program for people who don't make enough money, who have vehicular problems, and this local nonprofit helps with that. Oh, and then
Mhm.
maybe the government says, "Wow, we have a lot of people whose cars are breaking down. Maybe we should add more buses." And then the infrastructure at
Mhm.
that level steps up. Like, there's we never want to use helping people at one level as an excuse to not also help at others. Is in my opinion, we should be
Precisely.
trying
Actually, yes.
at wherever we can meet people's needs. We should be trying to meet them.
Yes. And that's the other half of this is that some people are, well, as long as they earn enough money, they should be fine. The problem comes when you have people who are what you might call near poverty
Hmm.
and minority. So the friend of mine who's had these medical problems been kind of worked to death is also a minority population, which is adjacent to the immigrant population where I live. So the problem is that people will offer, hey, I'm offering this lump sum of money. I pay you half up front and half when you're done. The
Hmm.
half when you're done never comes.
Yeah,
And
it's
what
like,
are these people going to do? The amounts they can't sue for it because they don't have any legal means to do so, or they don't have the money to sue for it. And the amount they'd recover is, this company would then simply declare bankruptcy, shut down, and move on to the same thing in another spot.
mhm.
So there's a lot of regulation that needs to happen that isn't happening that should be overseen by the government for operations like these because they often pay in cash to stay off the books of folks and to stay out of touch with organizations that say, hey, you can't employ persons who are here undocumented, for example.
Mhm.
But at the same time, they exploit people who resemble that demographic, who happen to be poor, and they end up exploiting the poor as well. So
Uh,
there's a lot of things that goes into respecting work and workers' rights beyond simply large organizations. It attends to individuals like that have individual employment or self-employed. Several of my friends are self-employed artists, and they struggle with the problems with like filing taxes and other elements of how much is taken out since they have to pay their own unemployment tax a lot of times. It
Oh yeah, you
takes
have
a
to pay.
huge
You have to
chunk out
pay.
that
Yeah,
people don't
you have to pay.
realize.
Yeah, you have to pay all your employment taxes. It's a lot,
Hmm.
and it's part of why I'm moonlighting now because like I was just looking at it and it's just realistically, the amount of additional revenue I would need to generate in order to cover the big $600 a month jump in health insurance. Because last year, health insurance was about $1,300 a month. Then, starting in December, it was jumping up to $1,900 for the same coverage. And
Yes.
I was just like, that's too much, man. And like, I'm doing pretty well, like on YouTube, but you know, I mean, it's still like one of those things where the United States is a very hostile. We talk about how business friendly we are, but we're friendly to corporations. We're not friendly to
Yeah,
the mom and pop garage that changes
not at all.
tires, or
Exactly.
guitarist who tours a few months a year. Like, a lot of people. It's just rough out there, and the more we can do to help out each other and set certain norms for people being treated with respect, the better it is for everybody. Real quick, I want to
Yeah.
remind our contestants they've got about 27 minutes remaining. We missed the 30-minute warning, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But yeah. And for anybody just joining, we are currently flying around the 11 Storm server, which is my current bleeding edge SMP for my Patreon patrons. We have the Everstorm server, which updates basically as soon as Mojang releases a new jar. Although this last update did take a little while longer than usual because I was going to Seattle, and boy, that really ate my entire life. So thank you all for being patient with me on that. And then we also have another server called the Vanillish server, and that updates at a slightly slower cadence. Basically, it updates whenever Hermitcraft updates. So, you know how Asuma will wait until certain mods and everything are all working? That is how we pace the Vanillish server, which is a lot more chill. So, yeah, we've got a Bleeding Edge server and a slightly more chill server in terms of updates. I'm going to post a link to the Patreon. If you sign up, just so you know, I send out all the invites manually, so you won't get like a robot. You'll get a message from me sometime in the next 24 hours. Also, I should mention, tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat, and we're rotating the camera 1 degree angular for every dollar that rolls in during the stream. We are currently dead level. So, there's that. So yeah, speaking of...
Am I not good for revenue?
wait, no, you're not great for revenue, but that's okay. You're grit for revenue.
Oh dear,
No, it's fine.
that does not pay as well.
Yeah. Whoa, I just got a weird Voxy glitch. Whoa. There's not enough space on disk. Am I still
Dear.
streaming? Yeah, I think
You-
my Windows might be having an issue here. I haven't, let me just find the oldest. So the thing is, I don't really go through here and delete files too often until I notice that it's almost full, and apparently I have not been aggressively looking at that. Yeah, now Windows is giving me an error. Okay, yeah. Let's see, Hermitcraft episode. Okay, yeah. We can, here's 6 gigs I can free up immediately. Shift delete. Yeah, these are from episodes at 18 and 19. Okay, that'll give us local disk C. Sorry, Grit. Yeah, okay, so I'm back up to 6 gigabytes free after deleting 6 gigabytes of files. So the thing is, I copy all of these source files over to an external hard drive and then to the editing laptop, and then... So, like, I've got 3 copies of all of these, and I can go down to 2. I just need to make sure I don't delete anything that I haven't moved over yet.
well,
Once...
that's upset.
Yeah, so we'll just go through... Yeah,
I used to
episode
work for a
13
place
through
that
episode
archived.
21. Yeah, those are fine to get rid of.
I used to work for a place that archived everything onto Jazz Drive.
Oh, we had zip disks when I was a kid. Those were the coolest. They were like 100 megabytes. I remember the ads had like
Jazz?
100 floppies. They were made by the same company, I think. I think Zip
Oh
Drive,
yeah,
Zip
exactly.
made Jazz Drives. That's what made me think of it.
Yes.
Okay, we're up to 31
Jazz
gigs
was
free.
like was the next step. It was
Yeah,
1
yeah.
gig per drive.
Wow. Magnetic Media was fantastic, and I miss it sometimes. But yeah, I've apparently filled up my hard drive just by flying around with this Voxy cache. But yeah, no, it's fine. Kindle says they still make reel-to-reel hard drives. I don't necessarily want a tape. I like want a magnetic spinning platter. Give me the current generation of jazz drive or zip disk is what I'm looking for. I'm sure that I'm sure they could go nuts with those today. Like,
Oh.
it probably doesn't make a lot of sense financially.
I think I have an external hard drive, an old SanDisk that's a spinning one.
Oh, I mean, they still make spinning metal hard drives,
But not the magnetic. Yeah, yeah.
but not like the magnetic plastic like a zip drive would have. Yeah,
Right, or the old 5 1/4 floppies.
yeah. We had those when I was a kid. My dad had a bunch of text adventure games he bought from some shareware company. But yeah, we were big shareware household because you could buy that stuff super cheap at the electronics store at the mall.
Yeah.
And like we never sent away though for like, oh, let's buy Commander Keen episodes 2 and 3.
Mm.
But whatever, it's fine. Okay.
Well, I don't know if you know a whole lot about me, but one of the examples I throw out for like socialized stuff a lot of times is living as a dependent in the military.
Mm-hmm.
We had effectively universal health care. We had subsidized housing. We had subsidized groceries, and you have tax-free amenities for like a department store because you have the BX, you have the commissary,
Yeah.
have the medical coverage that you have there. And I got to say that level of security is what the military says they need to make sure that their soldiers generally don't have other problems. It doesn't work so well for those who are like privates and early on in the military because the subsidies don't mean as much for those folks, and they often end up doing on nutritional assistance, which is something that here in the U.S. they've said we really shouldn't have to have that. Why are they on nutrition assistance when they have a commissary, when they have a mess hall?
Yeah. It's like, well, the mess hall's too expensive. It's like,
why?
Yeah, just give them food at the point.
Jesus, yes.
Like the mess hall should be free. Like, maybe, they say, okay, you can only take like X amount of food for free, and then we'll charge you beyond that. Like, okay, you can have 2 hamburgers and a thing of, whatever. But like,
right.
Yeah, you can't walk out of here with 10 burgers, but like for free. But like, yeah, if you want a meal at the mess hall, it should just be free. Grumble.
Yeah. But the other side of this is that you discussed how you felt when you felt like you couldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And that goes to one of the other things, which is how we treat disabled folks and disability, both at work and in general in society, where right now you have RFK Jr. sitting there essentially going to bat for the idea of quote unquote survival of the fittest, let people who can't survive die. And that flies in the face of essentially intrinsic self-worth, which is what we really need to develop in kids before we even get to later education. This idea that you're worth it because you exist. And that can insulate you against some of the insults of not being able to work or not being able to contribute for a time because, well, you're part of humanity. You have basic human rights. The floor should be universal health care, universal basic income, and build on that. You can't really build on no foundation.
Yeah. It's a rough world out there, and the more we can do to look out for each other at whatever levels we have any ability to control,
exactly.
we should be doing it. One of the things I think about a lot is there's this idea like, oh, time travel is super dangerous because if you go back in time and you step on a butterfly or something, you could totally change everything. But then at the same time, when it's like, oh, the world is full of problems, but you can't do anything about them. It's like either I can crush a butterfly and cause a tsunami, or I have no ability to impact the world. It can't be both.
Right.
I choose to believe that if I try my best to be kind and helpful and contribute what I can to helping others when they need it and when I can help them, which I can't always help them. I need to accept that. And I struggle with it because I want to help everybody, but I can't. I just cannot. Yes. That's the reality of it. But like, it's one of those things where like you need to accept that you have agency. And agency is not the
Yeah.
same thing as being Superman, but if you can make a strong case to other people with agency and you can cooperate and you can create coalitions. You know, that's a big thing that one of my old professors, Reverend Lawson, talked about. And one of his compatriots in the civil rights movement, Bernard Lafayette, I saw a talk that he gave about this very specific topic, not recently, but like a few years ago before he died. But Bernard Lafayette and Lawson both agreed that you need to be able to create groups of people like yourself who have shared values. You all work very well together. But then you also need to be able to coalition with groups of people that you would struggle to work with day to day, but your interests are broadly aligned. And one of the
Right.
problems that we have sometimes is like movements will try to be too large, one huge tent, instead of finding ways to bring together a bunch of smaller tents. Not a bunch of individuals, but like instead of having one national organization that's trying to solve this problem, we should have a bunch of local organizations that are working with each other, because people in one part of the country are not necessarily going to see eye to eye 100% with people from another part of the country. But that's okay if they're
Right.
not able to agree on everything, if they need different governance models or different this or different that for various reasons. That's fine. Not
Yeah.
every organization needs to be exactly the same, as long as they're made of people who are trying to do well, or trying to do good, and are willing to work with each other across organizational boundaries. And
Yes.
like one of the things that the internet introduced was this idea that everything is global, but that ends up undermining our ability to organize locally and organize in small groups and work in coalitions like that. And we need to be looking for opportunities to say, hey, our group has grown to this size. Should we continue growing and become, okay, we've been a citywide organization. Do we need to be a statewide organization? Or do we need to have some of our members who are thinking about moving across the state anyway build their own thing over there, and we support
Right.
them and they support us? And then, hey, somebody from Alabama reached out to us and they like what we're doing. They want to hear about it. You know, we don't necessarily need to say, okay, they're going to be a chapter of us. We need to say, here's what you need to know to create your own thing. Here are the problems we ran into. Here's how we can support you. If you guys have the opportunity, here's how you could support us. You know, we need to be creating partnerships without expecting homogeneity, if that makes any sense.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and like that's one of the things that I try to do, try to encourage within like my own Discord, is like I don't, and within my own community, I don't want my community to have a culture. I don't want there to be like, oh, that's the culture of the Joe Hills fan base. I want people to bring their own thing here and share with each other across different boundaries. Like, oh, some people are in Europe, some people are in Asia, some people are in Africa, some people are here, some people are there, you know, and everybody does their own thing. They're a loose coalition of people who have a shared interest, but they're
Right.
not one group. And,
Yeah.
you know, so like with workers' rights, you know, we have more than one union, because one union
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't necessarily represent hospitality workers and shipyard workers well. They are going to want to
Right.
support each other. When one union's having an issue, they want to be able to know they can go to the other guys and say, hey, if you could help us out with this specific thing, we would really appreciate it. And we'll have your back if you need us. But like, there's good reasons to have different groups that celebrate their differences and work harmoniously without trying to force all of them on to be on exactly the same page all the time.
Yeah, and that goes towards your charity model as well, because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a multiplicity of options or people to come up with solutions, like the favelas, you have, like you were saying, all of these different weird designs. But when there are enough of them, it creates its own symphony and harmony. All of those things that bring us that shared humanity that can still be with all of our differences.
Real quick, I want to go ahead and thank our first tipper of the stream. Thank you very much to Lakshmi13, who says, Happy International Workers' Day. I love these parades, and I'm loving this conversation with Grit. And Lakshmi13 tips, surprisingly, 13. So I'm going to rotate my camera 13 degrees angular. 1 second. Clicking edit transform. Making sure we're on the center. No, I'm hinged. Hold on. I gotta make sure it's rotating on the center of the camera. There we go. Up to 13 degrees angular. Thank you very much, Lakshmi 13. Yeah, thank you, Gritmonger, for your patience there. Um, but Moon Rosa says off topic, but isn't this caching new chunks that we might not want to do with the approach of Sulfur Caves? No, because I have flown over these chunks at the beginning of the season. I pre-rendered a bunch of these chunks so that the server wouldn't die as soon as people started flying around and traveling. So all the chunks I'm loading now, I'm caching on my local machine. These were already rendered by the server. I am not leaving the server's rendered area. But also, that's also why we have like the Nether, so we can go places. But yeah. Decaf Vote says, as a Brit, it's reassuring to hear at least some Americans are still talking like this. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's not. The thing is, a lot of the loud Americans are very rugged individualists, and I want to encourage individuals to be as self-sufficient as possible, because if you can't help yourself, you don't have the skills to help others. Or a lot of the skills that are required to be self-sufficient are also skills that are required to help others, right? So if I'm like, everyone should learn how to change a tire, that's partially because it helps you, but also there are some people who, because of disabilities or whatever region, maybe they're visiting from another place where they don't have cars. Not everybody who can reasonably learn to change a tire should learn to change a tire, because then they can help when inevitably someone can't. Everybody should learn to do their own laundry. Well, because, if you've got, your nieces and nephews staying with you and they don't know how to do laundry, well, somebody's got to do it. And, oh no, your wife is out of town? Well, I mean, I don't know. You're an adult. Maybe you should be able to do the laundry. Like, this is not like rugged individualism in the like, oh yeah, you should be like,
You gotta go alone.
Yeah. Man, it's just one of those like, but like, I think everybody should try to develop personal skills that are required to cook, to clean, to maintain machines that are required to do your job or to live, as much as possible. Obviously, you're going to pay specialists to do specialist things, but it helps if you know the bare minimum. And,
The interesting thing is, in the favelas and in communities where there's poverty, there is often direct exchange of labor, which goes towards that rugged individualism. If you have skills, you can trade those skills directly to others for some of their labor as well. And you bypass the entire cash economy. People have ways of making things work. So, for example, and this is going to sound weird to some folks that are like, well, why are people making money, or how do people make money trading SNAP, for instance? If I have supplemental nutrition and I need money for something else, say paying for a funeral, what persons in poverty can do is have a plate sale. And it's common around my area, where somebody takes some of the money that they have for food, they create a bunch of pre-made meals, and then they advertise a plate sale where they sell those meals and turn that food into cash for taking care of a loved one. And I got to say, just the crisis in having to bury someone when you're in poverty is a horrifying aspect of this, but it's what
no one should
necessitates
have
things
to
like a
do
plate
that,
sale.
though. No one should have to, and that's what's frustrating. Is like, this is one of those heartwarming story of schoolmates
Oh no!
raising money to buy a wheelchair. Like, I don't think that
Yeah,
anyone should have to commit SNAP fraud for any reason ever.
it's not fraud. It is not fraud.
Is it?
It's not, because they're buying food
If
and
you're
then they
buying
turn
food and
around
then
and they have a
reselling
plate
it
sale.
under SNAP, is that legal?
That's the thing, is SNAP doesn't say what you do with the food. You're supposed to
Okay.
feed yourself,
I
but
have to be
if I
very
bought
careful
like
not
a
to
bunch of
encourage
stuff,
any illegal
I know.
activity on my streams.
But the thing is, if I bought a bunch of SNAP stuff and then simply flushed it down the toilet, there's no law that says I can't do that. But that's the thing, is like, when you talk about how people have to bury another person, this is not a heartwarming story by any means, but
No,
it is a
it's not.
story of
It's not
innovation.
great.
It's a story of innovation and exchange of labor, because everybody knows when you have a plate sale, you usually have an emergency. It's the original form of essentially GoFundMe's.
Yeah. Well, and I
So
gotta say, I struggle moderating. One case where I struggle moderating my community is when I see somebody post a GoFundMe in there, and it's like, oh, a friend of this person who needs this set up a GoFundMe, and it's always right after something that's like super
Mhm.
tragic and really upsetting, and I don't want to come in and be the bad guy, but I'm just like, I don't know if we can trust this friend. Please don't, like this thing happened
Mhm.
within 12 hours. How do we know this is actually this friend and not a scammer pretending to be this friend? Can we just let the dust settle
Yes.
on this for 3 days and see something from the It's like, so-and-so is too upset to post right now, but I'm their friend and I created a GoFundMe for them. I don't,
Yeah.
like, I, like, that's the sort of
These are
thing.
problems that are driven by our collective
Like if we
poverty
lived in a
around us.
better society, I wouldn't have to be upset about that. But like, yeah, I
Yeah,
just like I
exactly.
saw one of those a few weeks ago, and I'm like, this is legitimately an upsetting situation. I could see why that person might be too upset to create a GoFundMe for themselves right now, but
Yeah.
also I don't know this friend. I've never heard of this. Like there's.
Mhm.
I get really worried about people that are being predatory, like because the whole system has so much predation built into it.
Right.
It sucks, you know?
Well, that's also the division of people because we don't have those communities. How do we trust someone coming in from a long ways away and trying to administer something or trying to, collect money for people? Or we have these commodified, because I mean,
Because at least in your
GoFundMe
plate
is
sale
a
example,
commodified
you're
platform.
talking to the guy who's burying his mom.
Exactly.
You're
You're exactly right there.
and it's
Yeah.
just like, you know, and if you're seeing it in your community, like you can count how many moms the guy probably had. If he's doing this
Hmm.
every week, you can kind of be like, okay, well, there's something going
Well,
on here. You know what I mean? Like,
see,
but
people
on
do
the
that with
internet,
garage sales instead.
yeah, on the internet, somebody could just, be spinning up these campaigns all the time, like, and you don't know if
Yeah,
they're legit or not. And
exactly.
so it's one of those things like this is one of the things that getting rid of Twitter has really ruined is I use Twitter to keep track of people that I met from all over the world at conventions.
Yeah.
And so if something happened in St. Louis, I could go and check out the people I followed from St. Louis, like journalists and other gamers and whatnot, and see like what are they saying about this. And if one of them is like, "Hey, yeah, this is actually somebody who's in my church," or their kid goes to my kid's school or something, like then I'm like, okay, I know within I have some pretty reasonable doubt, but or pretty or I have or I have done my diligence beyond doubt that this is a real thing that is that like the people who are setting up this particular fundraiser are known to somebody who I've met in real life at least once. Like having met somebody in real life at least once is not a perfect mechanism for determining trust because people scam people in real life all the time. But like it's a really long game to meet Joe Hills at PAX in 2013 and then like 8 years later have somebody setting up a GoFundMe about a disaster in your community. You know what I mean? Like I I'm
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that that's a real thing at that point. Like I don't but like and I really want to start traveling to conventions again and rebuilding these networks of trust and whatnot on Blue Sky and in other ways. But there, it's so hard right now because everything's so expensive for a lot of people to travel, and it's
Oh
not like
yeah, big
airfare's
time.
getting cheaper with Spirit going under and
Nope.
with gas going up. Like we really need to focus on okay, if we can't go to PAX this year, what kind of local events can we go to? And if we can't do those because they don't exist, how do we start creating them? You know,
Yeah.
how do we start connecting with people in our community? And you know what? Maybe they bring a few friends who are from out of town. And so, yeah, we're not all going to PAX in Philadelphia every year anymore because we can't afford it.
Yeah.
But we're at least still meeting some people from out of state or from across the planet.
Yeah.
Like Badger comes
That
to the
that's how
Tennessee events
conventions
from
start.
London, like
Yeah.
Badger hasn't been to London for 2 years, but you get the idea. Like there are
Yeah.
people, oh, somebody says 4 minutes, right? 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Also, real quick, we got a tip rolling in. Let's see who it's from. It's from Book Fanatic says, I've been enjoying the conversation and tips 20. Thank you, Book Fanatic. That's going to bring us up to 33. D. And then we got actually a second tip. Wow, this is normally these parades are not big on tips. So thank you very much as well to Padawan who tips 10 says thanks to you and Gritmonger for the great conversation. Yeah, this has been fantastic. I'm really enjoying this chat. And so we should probably start heading back to the parade route, or I should. I guess you're probably already there. But
I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, you've been there the whole time. Like, it's funny because normally I'm like, well, for the first 10 minutes, I don't like to show the builds because they're so early days. But yeah, we'll come back toward the end and check out it. It's really toward the end now. But yeah, let's see. Willie Slyfeld says, wait, Spirit went art? Yeah. Yeah.
News to you, Emma.
Yeah, check the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, they declared essentially insolvency and stop of operations at 3 a.m. One morning.
Yeah, it's kind of. I will say it is nice to see that the government will actually let some businesses fail sometimes, because at a certain point I was just like, boy, no company of a certain size will ever go bankrupt again. They'll just got bought by Oracle or something. Like, you know. I was assuming that, like, oh, the government will just sell it to the Saudis. It'll be like, nope, we're actually okay.
Get Qatar to make a whole bunch of duplicates of Trump's jet.
Yeah. Okay, so where is the front? Okay. Oh, there's Roman numerals on these. So VII, that's 7. XI. Wait, these are not Roman numerals. What are these?
They are Roman. They are Roman numerals, but they're not in series.
They're not. Oh, why would we have sequential numbers on the ground? Okay. That's
exactly.
Okay. Malicious compliance.
There are a total of 13, but yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks. I hate it. Okay.
That was his contribution. So.
We got 65 seconds remaining. And we got another tip rolling in. Let me see who it's from. It is from it's from Anonymous, who says, towards seizing the means of production, and tips 42. That's going to rotate us now to 85. Wait, am I rotating? Yeah, I'm rotating. Okay, good. I was like, it doesn't look like it's moving. Sorry, sometimes OBS is weird. A lot of the ways I use OBS is not what it was intended for. Okay, / game mode, creative. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see. We are coming down to the wire here. 21 seconds remain. 19. I like, there's just enough numbers. I don't want to count them all. It's like, that's too many numbers, but also too few to be like, oh, also, one of my favorite games just released to their version 1.0. It's like, now we have 5 seconds. We can't talk about that. 4, 3, 2. Oh, yeah, the phone goes black. It's like, no. Yeah, it's just like, oh, were you looking at that? No, it's locking time. Like, no, you can't lock with 1 second remaining. I'll lose track. I don't have the attention span for this. Okay. So, yeah, I hope you all are having a fantastic time. We are speaking, if you're just joining us, speaking with Gritmonger, who built Chindogu Gambiara, the outpost that is hosting this International Workers' Day parade. We are going to be going down the line and speaking with each of our parade float builders, hearing what they built, and then I will judge. Okay, so first off, we have Dottie. Dottie, you going to be talking on voice, or are you going to be presenting via text?
I'm going to attempt talking voice. Can you hear me, Joe?
Sounds great. Dottie, what are we looking at here?
Well, my base this season, I've been studying French architecture because I've been studying the French language for a few years now. And since this is International Workers' Day, I thought I'd see how they celebrate it in France and try to bring some of that international flavor to the parade. So this float is some horses drawing a carriage that is carrying an example of the architecture I've been using in my base, Fleur-sur-Belay, but we can't go there today because it's closed for the holiday, of course, which is what the sign up here says, fermé, for closed.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what, yeah, okay.
I also learned that in France, the May Day is also La Fête du Muguet, the Lily of the Valley Day, celebrating this one time in the 1500s when King Charles IX was given some lilies of the valley. So now every May Day, people give the people they love lilies of the valley. So this will also give those in just a second. Let me go turn it on.
How is that going to work? I don't see dispensers. I'm looking. They're coming out of there somewhere. Oh, they're behind the banners.
Bonne fête de travail.
I can't pronounce that, but let's try. Bon fête de travail?
Close enough. Well done.
Yeah! Well, thank you so much. This has been a delight. Dottie, anything else we need to know before we move on?
No, that pretty much covers it. Thanks for listening.
Wow, that was a fantastic first contribution from Dottie Matrix. Let's see what our second float is here. Who is presenting this? It looks like Stellar Spider to Be of Use, a poem by M. Percy. You going to be on voice or in text, Stellar?
I am on voice.
You sound great. Let's go. What have we got here?
I like this poem by M. Percy. She is a poet and activist that's a lot of stuff she does is the feminist activism, but she also does a lot of stuff for economics as well. And she wrote a poem about what it means for work to be enjoyable and invigorating and seem like a good thing for people to be doing and not just a thing they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to read one of the stanzas, and it has a lot of the items here that are on the card. The thing worth doing well, wait, I have to start it again. The work of the world is as common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry and a person for work that is real. And my job right now is all about helping people, at this moment, children, do their important work, which is generally playing, but it's also learning the skills that they need for life. So a lot of work, whether or not it's paid, is evidently more impactful and helpful when it's pleasant and when it makes you feel proud of it.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Stellar Spider, for sharing this. We've got our water pitcher. We've got our clay, I'm guessing, and then our amphora here, presumably of oil. We also have a raid rolling in from Unwoven Rainbow. Welcome, Autumn, Calvin, and Unwoven Rainbow. Appreciate the raid. We are doing an International Workers' Day parade float build contest. Our contestants had an hour to build parade floats. This first one here was by Dottie Matrix. This second one here was by Stellar Spider, and we are going down the line and judging. The 1 hour building segment has concluded, and now we are at presentation, which will then lead to judging. So thank you again to Stellar for this beautiful float and for sharing this poem. Once again, for anybody who's curious, that full poem is To Be of Use by M. Percy. Yeah, so these were floats that were constructed in an hour, but we did tell them the theme a month in advance. They had a month to plan, just like in Mardi Gras, you know, you can build your float in advance, but you bring it out on that day. In this case, they had time to prepare, design stuff, bring the materials out. But yeah, they had to do the actual build on the ground here in an hour. Up next, it looks like we've got Swan E. Swan E, are you going to be on voice or are you going to be presenting via text?
If the technology is working.
It seems like the technology is working. So yeah, just push to talk and tell us what we're looking at here. The technology was working. I can't hear you anymore. I heard you breathing. That's almost something.
Brilliant.
Oh, there you go. I heard brilliant.
I have to talk quite loudly, maybe. That might be the problem.
Okay. Go
Okay.
for it.
This is the recreation of the R101, which was the last of the large airships manufactured in the UK. And this was a whole program set up originally by the British government to get into airships. But the coverings and the gas bags inside them were fabric on the outside and actually, unfortunately, intestines for the gas bags on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't find any male traditional fabric workers who could do the work. So the government employed large numbers of women to manufacture them. In the pre-First World War era, they were in terrible conditions, these stinking intestines and hugely long shifts. But by essentially unionizing and working together, they improved their conditions. They worked to improve everything, and they ended up becoming quite a professional organization, which moved on to aircraft production and laid the foundation for women-led industry in the Second World War. The
Very
R101
cool.
is particularly of note because it was part of a two-part program, the R101, which was funded by the government, and the R100, which was privately funded, which was trying to get around this women-controlled system. And the R100 ended up being years late and I believe 8 times over budget.
Oh, wow. It turns out sometimes it's just cheaper to pay people what they're worth and treat them properly, right?
Exactly. Unfortunately, the R101 is the third most deadly airship accident in history, which actually puts it above the Hindenburg on the list of deadly airship accidents. It turns out big bags full of hydrogen might have been a slightly ropey engineering choice.
I mean, at a certain point, yeah, you can only do so much about the fundamental physics of the engineering. Yeah.
Exactly. And this also continues ray floats that are not float, but they do float. And
you kind of cut out at the end there, but I think we got most of it. Yeah, thank you so much, Swanee. This is really cool. I didn't know about any of this because it's funny. There's stuff taught in schools in America that we don't, you guys don't learn over there. I was shocked at the Hermitcraft meetup or the charity event we just did. There was a point where one of the British people's like, "Wow, everybody here is wearing jeans, but like nobody knows who invented jeans," and I'm like, every school child knows that Levi Strauss invented blue jeans as part of the gold rush, and they're like, "What? Why would a school child know that?" And I'm like, because it's taught in schools. Like sharing, part of the UK workers' history with us is so cool because I had never heard of this R101 or of Miss Weiling, and this is fantastic. Thank you for bringing a piece of your history out to the rest of the world.
Thank you.
All right, that's a cool contribution. Let's see what we've got next, though. Mantua Maker. Sounds like you're on voice.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me good?
You sound great. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So, I went for essential workers, those that we found, during COVID, the workers that need to run everything. So I have a couple of first responders, a fireman. I got to work on his helmet. I kind of did that freehand here, and then the nurse, and then a couple workers that we didn't realize were essential until crazy things happened, and that being like grocery workers who because people need to eat. And then
Sure do. I do it all the time, like daily.
And the one that I was directly involved with was property management. When it's a large condo building and things like that, staff needs to be there to make sure that the building doesn't burn down and crazy stuff like that. So that's the different things here. So it pretty basic, simple. That's it.
Very cool. Thank you so much. That was Mantua Maker. Ooh, it looks like your truck might be going the wrong way, though.
Yeah, made a fire truck there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, wait, no, your truck's going the right way. I'm just disoriented. Okay, yeah. Very cool. So you got a little fire truck pulling the float. That's cute.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Next up, ooh, we got some. This reminds me of being a small child and playing with little toys. Alpaca-tastic. Are you presenting on voice or text?
I'll be in voice. And yeah, kind of my base idea here was just the different types of vehicles that workers use either in their work or to get to and from their work and things like that. I had intended to put some actual workers in here with armor stands, but ran out of time just because, well, it was really fun putting all these vehicles together.
No, I
So,
mean, they
like,
are
here-
adorable. Like, I love the little forklift, the little
Yeah.
dozer. We got a tractor trailer here. Got
well,
a
this
double-decker
is a
bus.
garbage truck.
Oh, garbage truck, but tractor trailer back here, the pink one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, yeah, there's a double-decker bus for commuters.
Little tractor. These are so cute.
And then above us is a search and rescue helicopter representing emergency workers as well.
Wow, I didn't even see this up here. This is, I love the propeller. That's so neat. Oh, and great little wheels with the. Are those?
Yeah, I use the mini blocks.
Mini block
that,
heads
for that.
attached to.
Yep.
That's very clever.
Yep. It was
That's
great
very
having both
clever.
that and the invisible armor stands in this build.
Yeah, these are great little builds. So yeah, celebrating workers in all sorts of different fun vehicles. You know, we don't have like mechs or exoskeletons exactly, but I will say for some people, like a forklift is an extension of their body. Like, man, when I worked in warehouses, there, you know, some people are just driving the forklift, but some people are dancing. Man, they know, they're like, it's incredible the amount of skill that somebody can bring to bear on some of this stuff. Calvin in the Twitch chat says, "Wow, this brings me back to my forklifting days." Yeah, no, this is so cool. Oh, absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Like, these are just the right level of detail. Like, they're not too much, but they're not too. You really threaded the needle on that. Fantastic stuff, Alpaca-tastic. I don't have any questions. It's just, it's so self-evident. And then you look up and there's also a helicopter. Like, just no notes, no imperfections noted. Like, this is, I love it. Thank you. Let's move on and see who is up next. It looks like it's Dez, a reminder of your rights tour. Dez, are you going to be presenting in text or voice?
Let's go for voice. Can you hear me okay?
You sound great. Let's go.
All right. So this is a float that's based on a Viking tour that I took in Dublin, Ireland multiple times as a kid, where you would basically go on a car boat and run around Dublin City and yell at people randomly.
Okay. So
And
this is kind of like like in Nashville, they have these pedal taverns where you just cycle around in a pedal tavern and yell at people.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So
I love yelling
felt
back
like-
at people. So
Oh,
like,
yeah, it's
I'm
beautiful.
not supposed to yell at people on the street normally, but if they yell at me first, then I can yell back, and I like that. But I can see why that might be embarrassing to like a British person with me on the street, which is why Badger doesn't leave the house too often. No, I'm kidding. Just not with me.
Well, this one I figured would be a great rebrand for the Viking tours that Dublin shows as a reminder of your rights tour, of people giving out food and yelling out what rights people have. Some of the things that are along the side, I've left some blank signs for other people on the server to add quotes, but a lot of these are quotes from your conversation just now with Grit. So the ones in quotes are ones that either you or Grit said during this, and I just wanted to, like, you know, have something to remember it by.
This is just a kinder way of throwing my own words back at me. Normally it's like, oh, that hurt, but no, this is nice. I like it.
No, this is the kind way. This is
Yeah. No, this is fantastic, Des. Great stuff. So let's go ahead and move on now. We have so many entrants. This is a fantastic number of people competing in this parade. I'm so thrilled at the turnout. Kindleus is named 5 years on Joe Cord. Uh-oh. What do we got here, Kindleus?
Oh, so this is actually nothing bad. This is
okay. You're not protesting me.
No,
you're not unionizing. You're like, people who pay Joe to be on this Patreon need
unionized
rights.
a long time ago, but now they are a cooperative.
Okay.
Because that's the logical extension of unionization. Is eventually you just end up controlling the business and having, you know, ownership of the means of production. Mm-hmm. But the 5 years on Joe Cord is just because today is my, you know, cake day of joining Joe Cord.
Wow. Well,
so
I'm glad
I discovered that the other day, and I was like, wow, that's actually on the parade. How convenient.
Yeah.
So But yes, this is the Beetroot Boys. This is their soup truck, or as part of their community outreach, they operate a soup kitchen. So if people would, take their helmets off or hats off, they get soup.
Very cool. Somebody says, how are those signs staying upright? Are those... Yeah, that's actually a good question.
That is slime block retracting piston block suppression. If you have a sticky piston pulling on slime blocks and the slime blocks are stuck and can't move, when the piston head retracts, it doesn't update the blocks attached to it, so you can keep signs floating like that.
I'm going to need to learn how to do that, because... Yeah, that's fantastic.
I will post a picture in the live event chat at some point.
That would be helpful, because that's the sort of thing that does come up sometimes.
And this is the only way you can get a item frame on a sign so that it is stuck to the sign, as opposed to pulling out like a full block from the sign.
Oh man, I'm gonna annoy so many people with this.
But no, this my view on Workers' Day, right, is a very like worker camaraderie kind of vibe, rather than a much more combative vibe that we have with Labor Day in North America. So I felt like taking a much more, camaraderie vibe. Yeah. And I'll say having invisible item frames is a game changer, and the new group functions for the armor poser mod is amazing.
I haven't gotten to use that yet, but when I build the next skeleton, I don't know if you all saw Tango's episode today. I showed Tango the skeleton and said, hey, if you need a skeleton or two for decked out, let me know. And he was like, I don't have a skeleton in my plans, but I need to make one. I need to find a place for one.
The group thing is amazing, because I was able to place all my armor stands, add them to a group, synchronize the poses to get them all lined up properly with the sign, rather than doing them one at a time to make sure they're lined up perfectly.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm really looking forward to playing with that functionality more. I just I got done with the skeleton the day before they added that. And so, yeah.
And if you need more skulls, you can get them from skeleton horses.
Wait, you can get do skeleton horses have normal skulls or horse skulls?
They have horse skulls, but they look like, bone skulls. So
interesting.
Just an idea because I know there's always that shortage of skeleton skulls on the server. You can just be like, see, these are discount ones.
Oh, that's good to know. I'm excited. This is cool. Kindlelist, for those of y'all who have not been coming to these things for the last 5 years, Kindlelist always has some sort of weird redstone thing or Minecraft trick. And sometimes it's like, well, this incredible redstone roller coaster or whatever is like, oh, that's neat, but I could never use that. Like, I'm looking at this and like, ooh, okay, that sure is something. Calvin says, magic sign! Yeah, I know, right? Indeed, Calvin. Also, welcome, I am Emily. We are currently judging a parade float build contest. Kindlelist has just presented the Beetroot Boys celebrating Labor Day with their union on parade. And I think we've got 1 or 2 floats left. Looks like maybe just 1. Okay, cool. Let's find out who our final entrant is.
This is me, Open Bag 2. I forgot to place a sign before time's up, so whoops.
I'll allow it this time. But also, when I say stop building, you can put the sign down. Like, that's for me. Okay, we're moving on.
Okay, so anyway, Kindlelist mentioned that International Workers' Day, unlike Labor Day, is not as, say, confrontational. And I was, in researching International Workers' Day, I was curious why the U.S. has Labor Day at a separate day. And there are a few answers to that. But the big one is actually the reason why International Workers' Day is in May is a large part of the reason why we do not celebrate International Workers' Day in the U.S., which is the Haymarket Square riot, which was, workers protesting for better treatment, but it also got pretty violent. And at one point, it should be safe. And at one point, 7 police officers, there was an explosion in their midst. and several people were executed for it from the crowd, none of whom were conclusively tied to the throwing of the explosive. But that is how it is. But essentially, in the U.S., we just have no truck with celebrating violence and workers demanding fair treatment. So I thought it was appropriate for the holiday to mark that and kind of talk about that history. No matter which side of the debate, let's say you're on, like for instance, this season, I am representing a hyper-capitalistic syndicate. So the Emerald Chain definitely supports not celebrating workers' rights. And yes, this is my truck, and yes, the armor thank you, Joe, so much for getting us the mob heads data pack. It was absolutely a game changer, and this float would not have been possible without it.
Well, this is a very interesting entry. Yeah, I'm personally not a big fan of violence, whether or not it's mob violence. Please don't throw explosives at people if you're young and impressionable. There are lots of other ways that you can make a difference in the world. This is a counterexample, not an example of how to do it right. And I recommend reading James Lawson's posthumous memoir, Nonviolent, if you're interested in ways to organize and create change in the world without resorting to throwing explosives. Like, we all want to push for a better world, but we got to be thoughtful about how we do it. Because, yeah, whoever threw that, once again, probably not one of the people that got executed, probably wasn't trying to get their friends executed, but that's where we ended up on that. So, yeah, just try and think this stuff through, y'all. Okay, so that's my please don't get your friends executed talk of the parade. We obviously have to do one of those every time. Okay, so now I have to think about judging these. And we don't want to play music because it'll get the VOD taken down. Swanee says, it's worth noting for judging, once again, I built a float without wheels, but it does in fact float. Yeah, you're not going to get the no wheels penalty here for your airship. I will say people have gotten better at making floats that do have reasonable expectations of conveyance. Balloons are also a normal part of a parade. Yeah, we've got a lot of great entries here. And as I'm looking at them all, I'm just going to make some snap judgments. It's always a hard... Like, when I bring outside guests in to judge these things, like, one of the things that they always ask me is, like, you didn't tell me, like, how much I was going to have to agonize over this. And I'm like, yeah, I know. We just spent, like, an hour or 3 looking at amazingly beautiful things, and now you got to pick. It's always a challenge. But, yeah, if we've got this many entries, I'm going to go ahead and pick the top 3. And it's not easy. But... I am going to say I really liked stellar spiders to be of use. These little rams or sheep, I'm not sure exactly what they're supposed to be, but they're very cute and evocative oxen. Okay, I can tell they're beasts of burden. These beasts of burden are absolutely brilliant. They fit well with the color theme of the float. The integration of the items mentioned in the poem with the things on the float here. Plenty of room for people to stand and throw things. It's got a very unified color palette and design, and I really like it. So we are going to go ahead. I'm terrible at remembering what I gave people last time. So if parade to parade, these are not consistent. So we're going to give Stellar Spider... Minecraft. Was there anything new in the update that was like especially good that we didn't have before the update? Reinforced deep slate. Is that something you can't get? Yeah, we can give everybody reinforced deep slate. Reinforced deep slate. Gonna give you 32 of those, and we're also gonna give you some lights because those are always fun. Minecraft lights, 32 of those. And then I'm trying to, so it was the baby update, but I feel like giving out golden dandelions isn't amazing because you can easily make those. Was there anything else in the update besides babies and dandelions? I don't feel like there were. Okay.
Well, I mean, there are baby squid and the like now, since they didn't have baby squid now.
Yeah,
before.
but like that's
I don't
not
know if
like
eggs
a
make
thing I
baby
could just
squid. That's just
hand out,
spawns, right?
really. Yeah.
Yeah, eggs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, thank you so much to Stellar Spider. Gritmonger, don't leave also after I give away the first prize, because we are still going to talk about what your request was in terms of the rule changes and stuff. But first, I want to talk about these incredible little trucks and forklifts and stuff from Alpacatastic. These are really fun. They evoke a sense of youthful joy. They remind me of being a kid playing with toys. And then up here, you have a helicopter on top of all that. Like, that really elevates what you're doing here. And I just really appreciate, like, these do seem like the sort of things that you might see in a parade, too. A whole bunch of fun vehicles and stuff. A little hayride on the tractor where you could have people. You got the bus. So we're going to /give Alpacatastic, reinforced deep slate 64, and light 64. Okay. So Alpacatastic, that was absolutely amazing stuff. Our first place, I don't know, man. This Ferme closed float, This is pretty brilliant. I like the dispensers. I like the color scheme. I like the architecture, the banner. It all really came together with a fun, unified design. Like I said, different cross-cultural stuff is great. Like, I loved Swanee sharing a bit of British history with us. So Dottie bringing in a little bit of the French language and culture has been a treat as well. So we are going to give first place to Dottie Matrix with 128 reinforced deep slate and 128 lights.
Joe, one little bit of note.
Yes.
The French have actually extended this tradition. So on Workers' Day, they give out these things. The workers give these to each other for good luck.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
It's not separate traditions. Yeah. So it's awesome.
Yeah. The little flower dispensers were so fun, and I got to try and speak French. Bonne fête de travail. I failed it, not nailed it, but like it was fun. But yeah, that was fantastic. Before we go to Gritmonger for the Grit's Outpost request for a rules change for the server, I want to real quickly address my failure. I was trying to set up that fishing Everstorm, and the fishing data pack kind of worked, but there was not a good way to do data tracking for the leaderboard. So I think we're just going to say that was on me, and we're going to say game rule, player sleep. What is that? Player sleeping percentage? Y'all wanted basically 0, right? Everybody type in what percentage you wanted in the chat right now. Kindleist types 30. Alpacatastic types 0. 0, 0, 0. 0, 10. There's more people here. Everybody type what percentage you want. I'm probably going to end up averaging these. So if you're like, I want 0, but a bunch of people already voted 0, well, negative 100 types open back 2. You already said 0 open back 2. Gritmonger says 50. Okay, so 30 plus 50 plus 10 divided by... okay, so that's 90 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It looks like 10%. So /game rule, player sleep, player sleeping percentage. Yeah, player sleeping percentage 10. I think that's pretty reasonable. It's not necessarily single player sleep, but it comes dang close. Okay, so that is now set. Thank you for your patience on that. Apologies for not getting that news to you earlier on that. Sometimes when I'm failing at something, I'm like, well, I'm sure I can get it if I just take another crack at it, and it's just, At a certain point, I just need to move on. Functionally single-player sleep except for during events. Yeah, speaking of which, let me change the game rule for advanced time to be true again. I think advanced weather was already set to true. I just was manually clearing it. Yeah, currently set to true. Great. Okay, so Gritmonger, what is your request for a game rule change or anything along those lines?
I believe Kindless had more of the details on it, but Modrinth was shut down today. It's for a game mod pack for arrows and bows. Kindless, did you want to pipe up here?
Yeah.
A mod pack for arrows
yes.
and bows. I'm pretty skeptical.
So this is, like, as you say, this is the cutting edge server, right?
Yeah. We need to be able to update the jar and not break the world.
And I've been finding some cutting edge data pack makers
that
use the new features. And since they're data packs, if we update without the data pack, everything is fine. Versus, say, a mod where it might not be fine.
Yeah.
So I found a data pack called Advanced Archery, and after I finish talking, I'll post the link to the Modrinth page in the Ops channel. And it gives extra utility for bows and arrows through custom enchantments and custom crafting recipes. And these are things like, they have homing arrows, they have ender pearl arrows, they have, spying arrows so you can see where the arrow is going.
Wait, and this is all vanilla functionality?
Pure vanilla functionality.
And this is just in data packs, and Mojang isn't taking advantage. Like, these are things like, I could give you these arrows with a command right now.
Yes.
If I had the right,
yes,
like NBT data. This is just NBT data.
Yes. This was updated. This was released with last update, and they updated the data pack within a few days of it coming out, which is always a good sign.
So wait, how long has this NBT data been in the game?
Since 120.10, 21.10, I think, was when it first started coming out.
How have I never heard about this capacity? Because this seems like the sort of thing that people would talk about.
I feel like you have an ecosystem of data pack makers, and maybe they are focusing on updating their stuff and not making brand new weird things all the time.
Maybe.
So the other reason why we wanted to pitch this was, if this works well for us, when it comes time for the next season, you will have experienced one with this data pack and this data pack maker's work. And you could bring it to the Hermits if it works out well for us, with actual experimental reasons for why it could work on Hermitcraft.
So is this data pack maker somebody who's like new to the community or wouldn't be on our radar otherwise?
No, they've been around for a while. Like, they've done data packs. They also have a custom skin texture shader pack, which is just wild because it's totally vanilla. And like, they've made videos and of self-setting maps and stuff. So they've been around.
Okay, well, I'm dubious, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I was going to tell Gritmonger, basically at this point, like, the idea is, depending on how well the parade went, like how many people showed up, like the sort of effort that people put in, that's going to kind of determine how much leeway I'm going to give you for this request. And then he said, I'm going to hand it off to Kindless. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let me not overpromise here. Because Kindless is going to ask for something stupid. And if I prefaced it with that and then say, but not that, it's going to make me look bad. But you've made a very compelling case here that this is within the boundaries. And I like I said, I'm really impressed with the amount of effort everybody put in. So, just to be clear, though, Gritmonger, this is your parade. Kindless is speaking here, but is this your request?
He and I discussed it prior. I didn't have good ideas for how to improve the server. Moving it to baseline seems kind of meh. And honestly, the fact that we don't have a fletching table that works, we kind of have a workaround.
Does this use the fletching table?
It does not use the fletching table.
Okay,
but it should.
I was going to say, if it did, you should have opened with that.
You actually can't add functionality to the fletching table because it's the wrong type of block without using mods.
Oh, and we don't want to use mods.
That's the problem. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
But it's giving you the fletching table as it should be without the fletching table.
This is what we would want from the fletching table in an ideal world.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm convinced. Yeah. We're gonna go ahead and do this. So yeah, each time, for those of you all who are just joining us, each time we have a parade float build contest, there's going to be an opportunity for the host to make a request, and as long as it's reasonable and commensurate with the effort that I saw put into the contest, we'll do it. If it's unreasonable, we won't do it. If it's not commensurate with the effort put in, I might create some sort of additional challenge or event or something. I might say, well, if you guys want that, you got to really show up and prove it. And so maybe we'll do some sort of other contest or something that's out of scope for this. Like the fishing challenge was supposed to be that, and I know that that didn't work out. But like, yeah, stuff along those lines.
You'd say this was successful, huh?
This was a very successful parade. I'm thrilled with the number of entries and the quality of the entries. Like picking a top 3, I know it seems like I did it quickly, but I was kind of agonizing over this quietly while everybody was presenting because I knew I can't run music without ruining the VOD. And yeah, so like, no, this is a fantastic turnout. Everybody did a great job. And
just tell me next time and I'll hum something while you're thinking.
Yeah. It's just the Jeopardy theme, and we need to be out of key enough we don't get dinged. Everybody, Jeopardy theme out of key, go.
Go.
Yeah, but I feel like everybody here showed up, did a great job. Gritmonger, incredible conversation. It was fantastic being able to speak to you about your outpost and what International Workers' Day means to you, where you see opportunities for all of us to pitch in to improve the world around us. This is probably an exemplary, like, I'm going to be pointing at this VOD for years and be like, guys, this is what we're trying to do here. And it's okay if we don't nail it every time, but like, I know it's possible. Like, we can do this. So yeah, we need to mention also that our next parade float build contest is going to be the World Ocean Day Parade at the Reef Outpost. Do we have anybody here who wants to talk about that?
Hi, Apocatastic here. Yes, I can talk about that.
Awesome.
So you can actually see where the parade is going to be from where you currently are. If you just look back over to your left.
To my left.
It's in the big spaceship up there.
Yeah, let's go over there.
And yeah, as Kindleth mentioned, I wanted to announce something that I thought might make things a little bit more interesting. Because when we originally had the build contest, I said that the parade would just be on top of the spaceship. But, I was thinking about how to best celebrate World Ocean Day and also, do something new that we've never tried before in a parade. And so I would like to move it inside the ship and have the parade itself be underwater.
Are you going to have conduits in here?
Yes, it's not finished yet. We still have a few more weeks.
Okay, yeah. You still have a few weeks. That's a cool idea. Yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. And so World Ocean Day, the parade floats. This will be an underwater parade, a la C-Lab 2021, I guess. That's cool. Yeah, so swing back by June 7th, y'all. It'll be at noon Central Time, which is about an hour 40 minutes before now. And that'll be our next parade float build contest for June. Sequest DSV was also somehow in space. Yeah, it was. But people do what they can, we are so lucky to have so many talented people on the server here. Gritmonger, is there anything I'm forgetting before we wrap up?
No, I think thanks to everybody. The only thing is we're kind of dedicating this to Shawnard, who is no longer playing on the server currently. We think he may be stuck in the World 10 download. We're not sure. We'll have to search.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out today. I'm going to see about who I can raid. Let's see who's live this time of day on Sunday. I'm not usually streaming at this time. Bum. Oh, it looks like it's day 2 of Cleo's birthday subathon. So why don't we go ahead and raid my pal Zombie Cleo. I'm going to post a link for the YouTube to twitch.tv/ZombieCleo. Just as a reminder, we do have a normal time stream tonight. This is not a replacement for the evening stream. You can always find my stream schedule at joehills.net/soon. And yeah, let's go ahead and send you over to Zombie Cleo. So /raid Zombie Cleo. This has been a lot of fun. Fun way to spend the afternoon, and I'm looking forward to the June Parade Float Build Contest as well. Dottie Matrix, continuing to speak French, says, Merci beaucoup, Joe. I think that's French for thank you a lot.
Last thing, everybody pick up. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Last thing, everybody pick up a kit, because in there are also some of the graffiti that was designed by other friends of mine here, Dottie and Des, to put in your own place with the new transparent item frames. You can graffiti up your own build.
Awesome. So y'all have a fantastic time with those. Thanks again to Gritmonger. You are a fantastic host. We're going to raid Zombie Cleo. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee.